Hey, it's News from Heaven. Today we're talking about how mean people don't actually have any faith. And I gotta say, as a mean person, I was quite offended when I saw that title. I feel like there's a lot of bad press directed at mean people these days. But let's see if we can find something in there that does apply to us. Because I think we all go through, we have mean states and less mean states and some downright friendly states. And how does the interplay of stuff like faith, some theology sounding abstract, is it relevant, is it nothing term, how does that interface with the spectrum everybody can sense when they interact with, which is this person a jerk or are they nice? And you can often be a jerk and yet be very religious. So is this saying you can't? A lot of questions, no answers, but some discussion ahead. And how can we use this concept to, let's say we don't want to be mean. Well, let's say we do want to have the good aspects of faith. Let's say we just want to learn more about how life works so that hopefully we get the picture that liberates us from all the limiting stuff that seems to be bombarding all the time. Can we take this concept and use it? That's the litmus. I don't know. I really don't know. This is going to be a tough one. The inner recognition, I'm just kidding. This is going to be great. The inner recognition of truth that is faith is found only in people who are devoted to caring. This is out of Swedenborg's work on life and faith. This is the faith section. We're starting at number 13. Right away here, you have this particular iteration of the great, grand duality. Everything in life, it would be akin to something like energy and matter. Do people still talk in those terms? Everything, Swedenborg says, is one part truth and one part goodness. In this, the way that those take form here, we're talking about faith and caring. So faith being, as we learned in our previous episode, the affection for truth or the longing to know what is true. And caring, if you're an old Swedenborg head, you know, in previous translations, this was translated as charity, which is encapsulates the feeling of it, but also doesn't mean devoted to charity. Nowadays, you might think it devoted to giving to charitable organizations or NGOs or something like that. Charity, as Swedenborg describes it, caring, as we're calling it here, which I think is good, is a love. It's you love people. You're nice to people. So you can only actually have faith in people who are devoted to caring, which is interesting because when I try to talk about something like a faith on YouTube, a lot of people don't want to hear anything that sounds religious because religion has sort of a sordid history of atrocity X, then atrocity Y, if we're going along a timeline, and current problematic things that all stem from people within it saying, look at me, I have faith, and I'm also just a very mean person to be around. And actually, it seems like my faith is leading into my unpleasantness to be around. And Swedenborg comes in saying this remarkable statement that in people who are not just have something, sometimes, okay, I'll be nice, but people who are devoted, you have to be devoted to caring. That, what is devotion? But this is what I don't always achieve it, but I'm striving towards this caring all the time. That is what's in my heart. That's the only time we actually have faith. Having just said what faith is, and again, check out our previous episode, I need now to say what caring is. Yeah, what is it? What is it? Caring originates in a desire to do something good. Okay. So, we've got our charity here. And there's a desire for something good. So there's a will around, let's say, in the heart, in the feelings, look, I want to do something good. That, well, you get that once in a while. That does come across the plate every so often. And this is where it originates. So, since what is good loves what is true, as we saw in our previous episode, this desire leads to a desire for truth and therefore to the recognition of what is true, which is faith. So you have a desire for good, and you think of good as a love toward, so this is going to be the person or whatever group of people that you want to, or issue that you want to do something good to. You'd think that the goodness is just a love for that person. But actually, what is good comes out and is looking immediately for its partner. The good loves what is true. And this love of what is true, you could say, that this is faith. I'm trying to find what's the right faith to... That's faith right there, this longing for. So the progression goes, want to do something good. I know I need what's true, and I want to make what's true a part of this. So I love that. Good loves true. Okay, then we continue on. By these steps, in proper sequence, a desire to do something good takes form and turns into caring. So another way to put this grand duality is that if this is the purpose, then this is the means. You can't, the best example of Swedenborg is always about, look, love and wisdom have to go together. Love and wisdom have to go together. God is love and wisdom, and God is not more love than God is wisdom. And actually, even if you just said, let's pour into something way more love than wisdom, everything about the love would fall away, except for to the extent that you have wisdom in it, which sounds abstract, but think about if you go to the doctor. I've made this example a couple times, episodes way back in the past. If you go to the doctor and they don't care about you at all, you walk into the office and you can tell that they're not thinking about you, and they don't they don't listen to you very much, and they're sort of out of it. That's not good, because they don't love you. But they know their medicine. Okay, so sometimes good results can come out of that, but it's often not the right result, because they don't listen to what the actual problem is and don't really spend time on it, and so don't find you the right cure. They just say, here's a prescription, go do that. The other side, if you walk in and there's a doctor that really listens to you and cares about you, but they just don't know how to treat what you're doing, they'll end up giving you the wrong thing anyway. The best feeling in the world, that's a little bit extreme. A really good feeling is you have something going on with you. There's something that's concerning you. There's something that's making you worried about your future and what's happening inside me. I've got a problem. And you walk in there and you have the love and wisdom meet you there. So this medical professional is like, they are really listening and they really care about you, and they love you. Like they're not in love with you, but they have a desire to help you, right? Like this one we're drawing here. But you can tell they're really competent. Like they know what's going on and what needs to be done. That is this miniature picture of God, the love and the wisdom together. So here you have a desire for something good that links and needs something true. So there it goes from purpose to means to results. Because this is when these two together, the red and the blue, take whatever form is necessary. If we're going to go solve a problem, whatever this issue is, we've got to want to do it and have the will to persevere, and we've got to know what are the actual barriers to solving it. And those two together go to create happiness, whatever we're trying to create here. Solve the problem. So to go in this progression is the way everything about spiritual growth is, and you can't separate these two. This is the only thing that's actually faith in action. If you don't have this in the beginning, it doesn't matter how much truth you have. You're not going to get the real results that are there, or it's not going to be genuine. This is how caring develops from its origin, which is a desire to do something good, through faith, which is a recognition of what is true, to its goal, which is caring. So we're going from the desire to do something good. You want to do something good, and then I recognize what's true. And you can't, how could you ever want to do something good without caring about the conditions around the system? And then the goal, which is this caring. This is this doing something good. And this could be quite a lot different than what we often get, which is somebody will say, oh, look at this. I've got my faith, and I'm going to use it. I'm going to put my faith in a big old sack and use it to hit you on the head with, or use it to justify my own selfish... You know, we've all seen this happen. We can all be guilty of this at times. But the problem The reason why this sticks, the reason why we get people that are so, well, a reason you get people that are so not interested in religion. Because if you are interested in spirituality or religion or whatever we call it these days, you can say, how could you not love this thing? We're talking about love and God and the life after death and all these wonderful things. But one reason why people aren't like, yeah, talk to me more about that, is because how often is it deployed like this when people think the only element of this, that I've done it once I've got these ideas about, oh, there's a God, this is how you should live, this is how you shouldn't live. I've loaded those in and let's go, but we haven't looked back and changed what the motivation is. That this could be something like whatever flavor of ego you've got in there, of self, of tribal, I'm better, whatever it is, or I just want to be right or something. And if that is what's reaching out and driving this, as it goes down the chain, the results are not going to be charity. So you've got to have charity, or else you can't even say you have faith. You don't. It's a set. You've got to have the set together, or it's nothing. And if people keep running into that nothing, they're going to say there's no value to it because they've never seen it done right. We can see from this how love, which is a desire to do something good, brings forth faith, which is the same as recognizing what is true, and by this means brings forth caring, which is the same as loving, as love acting through faith. Faith doesn't do anything. Faith is a means, a tool by which love can act. That's what it's meant to be. And if it's anything other than that, if it's made primary, faith alone, Swedenborg felt like there's a huge problem where you say, oh, I've done it. I've confessed a certain belief. I'm religious, and that's it. Faith without works is dead. So you've got to have love acting through faith. To put it more clearly, okay, right, finally, let's make this clear. A thing that's good must be of use. So the origin of caring is wanting to be of use. What is love? I'm not going to sing the song. What is it? And what's heaven? What's the difference between heaven and any other kind of happiness? Right? The difference between heaven and any other kind of happiness. If you've got something that's moving you, we'll say this is some core of joy. What makes, let's say there's a number of these things, right? There's all kinds of things that can make you say, oh, I'm in heaven, which is really just, I really enjoy this thing. If this is actually heaven, the reason it's different than these others, there's two. One is duration. That what is heaven, I guess we got to, heaven. My daughter's learning to write, and she was looking at something I wrote, and she was like, what letters are those? I got to clean up my act. If heaven is up here, the difference is that the duration, that what is heavenly cannot just go on forever, but can go up and keep getting better forever. There are certain things that the more you do them, the less enjoyable they are. Whenever you get a new shiny thing, whatever it is, so any kind of object that you bought and love, there's a little while for which it sparkles for you. And then it becomes normal. Maybe not all the way, it still can give you some joy, but that first shine wears off and you can feel it very tangibly. Like, oh, this thing that used to really blow my mind whenever I came across it. Now it's so, but heaven is duration, and it's also impact. Oh, how does H relate to impact? Okay, here we go. It's also impact. Because these other ones might feel, when we're in the earthly mindset, they might feel roughly equivalent to what heaven is, but what they're doing is actually harming people or harming yourself. Whereas the joy that makes heaven lifts you at the same time. The impact and lifts others at the same time. The impact on the human race is good. So all that is to say, this wanting to be of use takes, okay. Oh, yeah. The thing that is good must be of use. So the origin of caring is wanting to be of use. This is the phrase. I should have highlighted that. Origin of caring is wanting to be of use. What is the origin of heaven? Because this is the core of heaven, is wanting to be of use. That, believe it or not, is the kernel that can be the kernel that is the core of heaven, is a desire to do something helpful. And believe it or not, that can become the most pleasant thing you can possibly experience. And it keeps getting better forever. And it does, by definition, does good for others as well. So it's clean and non-polluting. This is what has to be driving faith. And since usefulness loves the means of being of use, it prompts a desire for those means and leads to a recognition of them. So by the steps in this sequence, wanting to be of use takes visible form and becomes caring. This sequence is like the sequence of everything that starts in our will and moves through our understanding into the actions of our bodies. So it's all a microcosm. Whatever you see in this really broad level can be brought down into individual people, but then into individual actions inside them. And this is how we talked in the previous episode about, how can you know if any of this stuff we're talking about is true? You got to look for confirmations of it in the way the world around us operates, if we have the right tools to see how they compare. Because if there's really a spiritual side to reality that we're hearing about through Swedenborg's ability to observe it and write it down, to me, what would make it seem more plausible is if you can see those principles reflected in some way in how the world works. This is what he calls correspondence. So the way that all the love and wisdom in us, all the way the love and wisdom work spiritually is the same way that heat and light work here. And you can have this, study the world and see, on a physical level, this works like that works on a spiritual level. That's one way you can poke around and see, would that reality he's describing really be authored by the same author of what we see around us? So you have that process we just were talking about happening in everything, every little action we take, good or not so good. This sequence is like the sequence of everything that starts in our will and moves through our understanding into the actions of our bodies. So the charity, in this case, what good or bad, is the action we take, but there's first a desire to take it, and then the thought process we have to go to, let's say I want to rip this microphone out, which would be bad. I have to think, I have to want to do it, which is weird. Why do I want to do it? I don't know. Want to do it and then think, okay, well, I can't just grab the front of it because I know that I won't be able to get through it. I have to grab back here and pull it out. That's it just in that little action. That's the same process. That is to say, a motivating feeling which comes from our will has no effect of its own except by means of thought, which is an activity of our faculty of understanding, and the converse holds true as well. They must act together for anything to happen. Think it through. If you empty thinking of any feeling that comes from some love, can you think? We may think we're just weighing something rationally just to see if it's true. But even that motivation to see if it's true, that if you don't have some kind of motivation, you can't even run your mental processes. Everything, even if it's not always obvious to us, is being motivated by a desire for a particular result. These things are always together. They have to be together. Or by the same token, if you deprive a motivating feeling of its thought, can you accomplish anything? You know, that's just the worst, when you want to help, but you can't, you don't know how. Or again, if you empty a thought of its motivating feeling, can you talk? Or if you deprive a motivating feeling of its thinking or understanding, can you do anything? This is how it is with caring and faith. Now, we really circle back around here. You cannot separate faith or the ideas around the reality of God and love and everything that's good and true and right. You can't separate the ideas around them from the motivation for knowing about them, which is love. If you do that, it's nothing. So people run into this all the time, that where they see, the people have these ideas around God and religious stuff, but they don't have the love. They see those without the love, and so it's like, this is nothing. Because what's true, just the faith can masquerade by itself as faith. You can say, look, this is it, but it's actually not even faith if it's not in the proper sequence, because God is the desire for what's good and has wisdom as the means. So you're not really a representative of God if you're not representing God's purpose, which is heaven from the human race, the individual happiness and rescuing and blessing and letting to grow and thrive every single person that's out there. And that's the news from heaven. So, thank you for reading through it with me. How's it work? Does that arm you with something you can go do stuff with? Leave a comment. Let us know what it's doing for you. And we'd love to get to hang out with you. If you want to do that this summer, the offTheLeftEye experience, check it out. We're going to do a whole weekend of diving into this stuff. Hopefully, and the whole point of it, why do we dive into it, is to get our love connected with the right ideas to then help. Whether that's helping ourselves get free from something that will then allow us to act better, whether it's helping somebody else, whether it's doing something for some cause. That's what this is all about. The love to the wisdom to the action. So we're just looking for opportunities to do that more and more. Thanks for giving me a chance to get to try to move through this sequence with you here today. Hope it serves you well.